The knock came at 8:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I wasn't expecting anyone. My apartment was a mess, takeout containers on the counter, work papers scattered across the coffee table, yesterday's shirt draped over the dining chair. But when I opened the door and saw Mira standing there, rain-soaked and trembling, all thoughts of the mess vanished. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know where else to go." We worked in the same building, different floors, occasional elevator small talk. She was the girl with the bright smile and vintage cardigans, always carrying too many books. I was just another face in the morning coffee line. "Come in," I said, stepping aside. She hesitated at the threshold, water dripping from her jacket onto my worn welcome mat. "I don't want to intrude. I just needed to not be alone tonight." I didn't ask why. Something in her eyes told me not to. Instead, I grabbed a towel from the bathroom and handed it to her, then started making coffee without a word. She sat on my couch, curled into herself, drying her hair with mechanical movements. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was necessary, like a bandage over a wound neither of us could see. "Terrible weather," I finally said, passing her a mug. "Yeah." She wrapped both hands around it, seeking warmth. "My boyfriend and I had a fight. Well, not a fight exactly. More like the end of something that's been ending for months." I sat in the armchair across from her, giving her space. "You want to talk about it?" "Not really." She looked around my apartment, at the books stacked haphazardly on shelves, the plants I kept forgetting to water, the framed concert poster from a band nobody remembered anymore. "This place is nice. Lived in. Real. That's a polite way of saying messy." She smiled for the first time that evening. "No, I mean it. It feels safe." We talked until midnight. Not about her relationship or whatever had brought her to my door, but about everything else. Favorite movies, childhood memories, the strange comfort of rainy nights. She laughed at my story about accidentally adopting a cat that turned out to belong to my neighbor. I listened as she described her dream of opening a small bookstore someday. When she finally left, promising she was okay to drive, my apartment felt different. Quieter, but not in the way it had been before. Like a room that had just lost its warmth. I didn't think much of it then. People reach out when they're hurting. It was just one night, one moment of connection in an otherwise ordinary life. But the next evening, she knocked again. And I opened the door without hesitation. 3 visits became 5. 5 became every other day. Then every day. Mira never announced she was coming. She'd just appear after work, sometimes with Thai food, sometimes with a bottle of wine, sometimes with nothing but that tired smile that meant the day had been long. I stopped questioning it. I started expecting it. My apartment transformed around her presence. She brought a lavender candle one night. "Your place smells like old pizza and desperation," she'd teased. The next week, throw pillows appeared on my sad bachelor pad couch. Then real mugs to replace my collection of promotional cups from various corporate events. "You don't have to do this," I said one evening, watching her rearrange my bookshelf by color. "Do what?" "Make my place livable." She paused, a weathered paperback in her hands. "Maybe I'm not doing it for you. Maybe I'm doing it for me." The honesty in her voice caught me off guard. She wasn't decorating my apartment, she was nesting, creating a space where she felt comfortable enough to breathe. Her relationship had officially ended 2 weeks after that rainy Tuesday. She told me over Chinese takeout, speaking around a mouthful of lo mein with a casualness that didn't quite mask the relief underneath. "I thought I'd be sadder," she admitted. "But mostly I just feel free." "That's allowed," I said. She looked at me then, really looked at me, with an intensity that made my heart stumble. "You've been really good to me, Ethan. Not asking questions. Just letting me be here. Where else would you be?" The question hung between us, heavy with implications neither of us was ready to acknowledge. That night we watched a movie. She fell asleep halfway through, her head gradually drifting onto my shoulder. I didn't move, didn't dare breathe too deeply. Just sat there, acutely aware of every point where her body touched mine, her temple against my collarbone, her hand resting near my knee, the soft rhythm of her breathing. When the credits rolled, I carefully shifted, intending to wake her. But she murmured something incoherent and burrowed closer, and I found myself wrapping an arm around her shoulders, pulling the throw blanket over both of us. We stayed like that until morning. I woke to sunlight streaming through my uncurtained windows and Mira watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Morning," she whispered. "Morning." Neither of us moved. Neither of us mentioned the fact that we'd spent the night tangled together on my couch, or that her hand was resting over my heart, or that this felt dangerously like something more than friendship. She left for work from my apartment that day, borrowing one of my hoodies because she'd never gone home to change. I didn't ask her to return it. I wanted her to have a reason to come back. The kiss happened on a Friday. Mira had been at my apartment all evening, cooking, not reheating takeout, while I worked on a presentation due Monday. The domestic simplicity of it felt surreal. Her moving around my kitchen like she'd always belonged there, humming along to the playlist she'd created on my speakers, occasionally calling out questions about whether I liked cilantro or if I was allergic to anything. "Dinner's ready," she announced, carrying 2 plates to the coffee table. I closed my laptop, suddenly aware of how natural this had become. How she knew I preferred to eat in the living room. How she'd already poured me a glass of the wine she liked, the one that had taken up permanent residence in my fridge. "This is really good," I said after the first bite. "Don't sound so surprised." She nudged my foot with hers. "I'm not completely useless in the kitchen. I never said you were. You implied it. Multiple times." We ate in comfortable silence, then she helped me clean up, another routine we'd fallen into without discussion. At the sink, we moved around each other with practiced ease, her washing while I dried, our bodies instinctively aware of the other's space. "Ethan," she said softly, handing me the last plate. I turned to take it and found her closer than I expected. Close enough to see the flecks of amber in her brown eyes. Close enough to count the freckles across her nose. Close enough to feel the warmth radiating from her skin. "Yeah, I need to tell you something." Her voice wavered slightly. I think I've been using you." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Not like that. I mean," she set down the dish she was holding, turning to face me fully. "I've been coming here every day, treating your apartment like it's mine, because being here with you feels better than being anywhere else. And that's not fair to you." "Mira, let me finish." She took a breath. "The thing is, I don't think I'm using you as a rebound or a distraction anymore. I think I'm just choosing you. And I don't know if that's okay." The kitchen felt impossibly small. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. "What if I want you to choose me?" I said quietly. Her eyes widened slightly. "Do you?" Instead of answering, I closed the distance between us. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, a question asked and answered in the gentle press of lips. But then her hands found my collar, pulling me closer, and something inside both of us broke open. The kiss deepened, became urgent, months of unspoken tension pouring out in the way she gasped against my mouth, the way my hands tangled in her hair. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against mine. "I should have done that weeks ago," I murmured. "Yeah," she agreed, smiling. "You really should have." The weeks after that first kiss blurred together in the best possible way. Mira still came over every evening, but now she arrived with an overnight bag. Now when she curled up on my couch, I curled up with her, our bodies fitting together like pieces of a puzzle we hadn't known was incomplete. Now when she stayed late, she didn't leave at all. Her toothbrush appeared next to mine in the bathroom. Her clothes started migrating to my dresser. Her books colonized my shelves so thoroughly I could no longer tell which ones were originally mine. "I'm basically living here," she said one Saturday morning, wrapped in my sheets, her hair a wild tangle across my pillow. I traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder, still marveling that I got to do this. Touch her freely, wake up beside her, see her soft and unguarded in the morning light. "I've noticed. Does that bother you? Does it look like it bothers me?" She smiled, that secret, satisfied smile that made my chest ache with something too big for words. "Your apartment is tiny. We can barely fit both our stuff in here. Then we'll get a bigger place," I said without thinking. She propped herself up on one elbow, studying my face. "You mean that?" Did I? We'd only been officially together for a month. But she'd been part of my life for longer than that, part of my daily rhythm, my evening plans, the reason I hurried home from work. The apartment didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like ours. "Yeah," I said, meaning it completely. "I mean that." She kissed me then, deep and slow, and I pulled her closer, losing myself in the warmth of her skin against mine, the soft sounds she made when my hands traced the curve of her hip, the way she whispered my name like a prayer. Later, much later, we lay tangled together, the afternoon sun painting golden rectangles across the bed. "Ethan." Her voice was quiet, almost vulnerable. When did this happen?" When did I become this to you? I thought about it, about that rainy Tuesday, about the accumulated evenings and shared meals and comfortable silences, about the moment I'd realized my apartment felt empty without her in it. I don't know exactly, I admitted. It wasn't one moment. It was all of them. You just settled into my life so naturally I didn't notice I was making room for you. By the time I realized what was happening, you were already home. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, you're home for me too. You know that, right? I tightened my arms around her, pressing a kiss to her temple. I was hoping, not hoping, knowing. She tilted her face up to mine, her eyes serious. This is real for me, Ethan. You're real for me. Good, I whispered against her lips. Because you're not going anywhere. 6 months later, we signed a lease on a one-bedroom apartment with actual closet space and windows that let in natural light. Moving day was chaos, 2 lives merging into one space, negotiating which furniture to keep, her couch, my desk, what to donate, my sad bachelor plates, her ancient coffee maker, how to blend our aesthetics into something cohesive. We argued about where to put the TV, laughed over the 3 sets of measuring cups we somehow both owned, and finally collapsed on the floor surrounded by half-unpacked boxes. This is insane, Mira said, leaning against me, surveying the disaster around us. Completely, I agreed, kissing the top of her head. I love it. Me too. That night, we christened the new apartment the way we'd christened every room, making love on the living room floor because we hadn't assembled the bed yet, then again in the shower, then once more against the kitchen counter because we couldn't keep our hands off each other. Every space marked as ours, every surface a new memory. We built our life in that apartment. Mira finally quit her corporate job and started planning her bookstore. I supported her through the fear and excitement, staying up late to help her draft business proposals, celebrating every small victory with kisses and whispered promises. She was there when I got promoted, jumping into my arms with such enthusiasm we both almost fell over. I was there when her first poetry reading drew an audience of 5 people, holding her afterward while she cried with disappointment, then making her laugh by dramatically reciting bad poetry until she couldn't breathe. Some nights we fought, about money, about whose turn it was to do dishes, about stupid things that felt enormous in the moment and ridiculous the next morning. But we always came back together, unwilling to let anger win, too invested in what we'd built to let it crumble. One evening, almost a year after we'd moved in together, I came home to find Mira on the couch, crying softly. Hey, what's wrong? I dropped beside her, immediately pulling her close. She shook her head, laughing through her tears. Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I was just sitting here thinking about that rainy night when I showed up at your door, completely lost, and how you just let me in, let me become part of your life. How you became my home when I didn't even know I needed one. I cupped her face, wiping away tears with my thumbs. You became mine too. The best thing I never knew I was waiting for. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. That night, as we lay tangled together in our bed, in our apartment, in the life we'd built from rainy evenings and accumulated moments, I understood something fundamental. Home isn't a place. It's a person. It's the one who sees you completely and chooses to stay anyway. And Mira had chosen to stay. Just as I had chosen her. The end.